Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of What's Next with We. This is the SaaS series. This episode is part of the SaaS series for folks who do not know about SaaS. SaaS is basically software delivered as a service, subscription, typically over the cloud. We have a special guest today. We have Pankaj Kumar. Hi, Pankaj.
Hi Vishal, thank you for having me.
Pleasure as always. A quick overview about Pankaj. Pankaj leads product at Yellow.ai, where he's responsible for product strategy, roadmap, and obviously building innovative products. He has had interesting product roles at LogMeIn and Myntra before this. Prior to his MBA, he was the lead software engineer at Samsung Electronics. He's a quintessential Indian guy with a IIT IIM degree. Will be good to hear about his journey. Pankaj, once again, welcome. Welcome to What's Next with We.
Thanks Vishal, thanks for this glorified intro about myself.
It's, I think, a humble introduction, I guess, because I'm sure people would be inspired by your journey so far. So, by the way, I'm Vishal Ramaswamy. I'm your host as always. Jumping right in, Pankaj, would be great to hear your journey as obviously you must have started as a software engineer, did your MBA, progressed into a product management role. I think the path that you are in, it's an inspiration. It's many of the folks would like to, I mean, young India would like to follow the path that you have taken. Would be great to hear your story, your journey so far.
Thanks Vishal. So I think to start my journey, right, I think I will go back to an era called 2000, I will say 6. And I think the place will be Samsung headquarters in Suwon, South Korea, right? And from there, I got a first glimpse of product management. And let me make a background, right? I think as I mentioned, after my engineering, I was working in Samsung Electronics and I was at the headquarters in Suwon. And I was building a mobile application, something like Google Talk for phone. And as a developer, right, you'll get a lot of specs. I think UI interfaces and this feature should be done in that way, right? I had a mild curiosity and I asked my manager, right, why we have to do this way and not other way, right? And the answer I got is, right, I think this has been finalized by the PM and the UX designer. And I always remember that event, right? And it was always in my mind, right? What I did is, I think with that flow, right, I think I worked with Samsung Electronics for almost 4 years. And as many people in India do, right, after I think engineering, right, they go for MBA. And I went to MBA at Bangalore. And I was not very clear of why I went there, right? And obviously, things that I realized what I don't want to do in first year, right? So I think I realized I think I should not go to consulting, I should not go to iBanking, and I want to be close to technology. And I had many good friends at US as well. And I had a very limited exposure of US and global market by then, right? But I think after reading things and the way things are evolving in technology, I realized two things. And I think I made a first conscious call. I think it is 2009 end. That is, I think the second year of my MBA. Two things. First is I want to become a product manager, right? And second is I want to join a startup. And that is 2009. It is not 2022, 2022, right? Where I think startups are hot and product managers are in demand, right?
Correct.
So I took a call and I think I joined a startup called Ram Green out of campus there, right? And I think very few people used to do them, right? So, and it was in a kind of a unified communication platform, some telephony, some CRM, and it was based out of Delhi. So, and good people joined there. The CTO came from Microsoft. He was working from US. He was from also US, and a good team, right? And we had good fun building product for 1 year. And like many startups, right? I think many times things do not go the way you want to go, right? So that folded in 1 year. It was acquired by Mahindra Satyam, and I was looking for another startup. And I also wanted to come back to Bangalore. I like Bangalore a lot. And I joined, I got a opportunity to work with Myntra back in 2011. And Myntra was transitioning from customization business. Earlier, Myntra used to do customization on t-shirts and mug, and they're going to pure play e-commerce, right? And World Cup 2011 was a big driver, and people started buying jerseys, a lot of clothes and shops, right? So I joined the team then, and I was the initial product managers. We are literally working from basement in HSR layout. And one of the primary reasons I think I joined Myntra was I think people. I think Mukesh Bansal is a great, with a lot of experience in product management. And my boss, Deepak Menon, he came from Google. He leads now a big team at Microsoft itself, right? So I think there I worked on multiple projects, and I was owning the front end and the, I will say, website experience. Many revisions of how homepage should work, checkout should work, payment should work, right? Returns and uh, returns and I would say exchanges should work, right? So a lot of experiments, a lot of A/B tests, many successes, many failures, and almost 3.5 years went, right? And it was an interesting stage, right? I think in 2013, 14, Amazon and other e-commerce players also started coming, and there was a consolidation in e-commerce space as well, right?
Right.
And honestly, it was a very temptation that I think Amazon said that, okay, why don't you join us? So they will meet Myntra and other people, why don't you join us? Right? Then I will say I took a second call then as a product manager, right? The call was like many people, many product managers, right? They focus in one domain. So I think you stay in one e-commerce and you, I will say, create expertise and say, if you want to say particular industry, right? I took a very conscious call that I don't want to join e-commerce because I think I've done enough. And obviously there's all the learning and all that. I want to try something new. And second thing is I would also to look at a different customer persona. Myntra was e-commerce and Indian customers. So I chose and joined a company called Citrix. And now my component got, my as a business unit got merged with rival Logmin. Then I worked with Logmin as well. Now the company is called GoTo. So I spent around 7-8 years there as well as product manager, right? And for me, the biggest reason to join that was I think it was in high tech, in a different space. And I think in the 95% of the customers were US, right? And as a product manager, I think it's very important that we keep trying to understand new customer needs and we keep looking at the new problems, how to solve it. So, and I joined as a very interesting experience, right? And there are many preconceived notions when you start building product, right? And one of the biggest learning that I had is, right, think from customer perspective, right? And it is very difficult at times, right, to think like a customer where you are, I will say, 12.5 hours time zone different sitting in India, right? So I spent a lot of time in US. I also spent some time in Germany, Hungary, trying to understand what customers are looking for. And I was owning multiple products. So I think, and I'll talk about few of them. So I was working at a remote access product like Go to My PC. Then I've also worked on products like LogMeIn Pro, LogMeIn Central that were in remote access and management, right? And the other thing was, I think the great leaders at LogMeIn and the team was also great, right? And most recently, I think I was owning the collaboration products like GoToWebinar and GoToTraining. So that is a very interesting journey and a lot of learning. And in a way, I think what it did is, I think it threw me, and I think in the area of SaaS. So, and I think all my products, I think that I worked at LogMeIn, right, was SaaS product, right? And I think it is a very, it's a very interesting area. And I think now it has become a big area, how companies are adopting to SaaS products and going right. And I think last thing I will talk about, I think one of the reasons I should mention why I joined Yellow. And is I think, again, I will say, I think I spent around 7-8 years at LogMeIn. I was looking for a new interesting problem, right? And I think conversational AI is a very complex problem. And I think it's very impactful as well if you solve in the right way, right? And obviously, we have a great team here. And I think we are on a mission of, I will say, creating beautiful experience in total experience area. So this is my summary journey of Vishal.
Awesome, Pankaj. I think quite an interesting journey. And I think the good part is you had a reason at every juncture, the critical juncture, you had a reason why you moved to a different opportunity, different geography, or maybe different business line altogether, different sector as well. Pankaj, coming to SaaS, I wanted to get your views now since you have past few years you've been in the SaaS sector. I've been reading a bunch of reading reports, hearing podcasts that India becoming a global hub for SaaS. So wanted to get your views, your thoughts on the same. So
Sure, Vishal, right? And I think one can browse reports and one can find, right, the number of startups in the SaaS space, the number of unicorns in the SaaS space, right? And if you look at the multiple reports, right, I think you'll get a view, right, that this year the funding was in, I think, in magnitude of say 5 to 8 billion dollar, right? And
Correct.
next 5 years it will increase the CAGR of, I will look at revenue as well, like more than 50-60%, right? So I
Correct.
think what I'll do, right, I think while everything looks very optimistic from, I think, revenue perspective and also looks from, I think, the kind of funding perspective, right? And also if you look at few reports that globally also, right, I think right now, I think Indian companies contribute to maybe 1% of market share from revenue perspective, but
True.
it's going to grow to 4 to 5%, right? So I
Correct.
think what I'll do, I think I will take a view beyond numbers, right? What are the drivers
Yeah,
for
that's
the
important.
SaaS? Yeah, especially in India, right? And
Correct.
I think look at, right, I think we can slice that dice into, I think, the key components of this SaaS growth in India, right? We can look from the demand side, we can look from the supply side. We
Sure.
also look at the other enablers of this whole ecosystem, right? And obviously, I think we all know, I think the biggest, one of the biggest enablers is the kind of internet connectivity we have got in India in the last few years, right? And obviously, it is really very cheap, right? And obviously, I think one of the good things of, I think, a deadly COVID is, I think it started, I think, learn to work remotely, right? And I think build products remotely, right? So that is another enabler, right? So let me go one by demand side and supply side, right? And if you look at the demand side, I think I'll simplify, I think, because at times the demand side and supply side may look very, I think, tough jargons. And I think I'll make it simple. I think demand side of people who are consuming our SaaS products, right? Is as simple as that, right?
Correct.
And I think if you look at traditionally, right, I think not in India, before coming to India, globally as well, right? I think there are many advantages for people who want to consume SaaS products, right? One of the biggest example advantages is they can go live fast. And I say go live fast, you can go there, buy a product online, right? Or touch sale, right? And you can go live as soon as in 5 minutes,
True.
right? If you
Yep.
compare to traditional non-SaaS products, right? Forget the, I think, buying cycle, right? We have to do, I think you have to do a lot of configuration, lot of adoption. You have to, I will say, to deploy certain servers at your location, to do many check marks, right? So go live fast is important, right? And obviously, I think traditional, right? I think it provides a choice to select and switch. So compared to
Correct.
legacy nonsense systems, right? If you are onboarded, right, you are stuck with that, right? So, and I think, and I'll just try to bring right in the context of India, and I think, and obviously in the Southeast Asian market as well, right? I think people look for choice, right? And I think they don't want to get stuck to one, I will say, vendor, right? And they're looking for those solutions. And in a way, right, this gives, if you look at the impact wise, right, they're looking for the best solution. The supply side people are forced to build right solution for them, right?
True.
The other way to look at it, right, I think demand side, people are trying to look for problems that are not solved earlier, right? And I will say, I'll take a simple example without naming companies, right? If you look at any example, right? If you look at education space, right? If you take a space in entertainment as well, right? With internet coming in, I think few things that we thought that are meant only for say tier 1, tier 2 cities, right? Now people are looking for education, a quality education or a quality health in tier 2 cities as well, right?
True.
So I demand has grown a lot, right? So it doesn't matter you are sitting in Bangalore or sitting in a small village in Bihar, right? The quality of service should be same,
Correct.
right? That is the third thing, right? Fourth thing is, I think, in terms of, I will say, the interesting thing is SaaS definition itself is, I will say, blurring. I think now the delivery of physical goods are also getting converted into, I will say, SaaS model, right?
Correct. Very
So
true.
so that is also, so that is the some kind of a traits we look from the demand side, right? Let me come to the supply side, and this is very important, right? And I think the one of the big empowerment that has happened is, I think, with internet coming, right, a lot of cloud technologies that have come, right, and relatively it has become easier to build solutions sitting from any place, right? I can sit in any remote place, right? I can build solution. My co-founder or my teammate can sit anywhere, right? And there are, I
Correct.
think, a lot of, I will say, complementary services. You can use a plugin from one place. You want some compute, take compute from there. You want some kind of database take from there, right? You need some APIs. So it has become easy to build solutions right there, right? The second thing is, I think from the supply side and people who are building this solution is, I think overall, right, I think business wise as well, right, once you start creating value, right, it is easy to scale because we're not limited by a geography, right? I think the same solution that you can deploy at one location, right, that can be used by multiple, I will say, consumers across not only India but globe, and we are seeing that trend, right? I think we are building for India and then scaling to world, right? And I
Correct.
think it's happening that okay, those boundaries of that countries have gone away. I think the solution is a solution, right? I think we just prioritize. We are solving for this customer person or other customer person, right?
True.
And I think the last thing I'll just touch upon, Vishal, which is I think the most important factor is I think the ecosystem itself. And by ecosystem, I say the interdependence of I think different components, both from supply side and demand side, which are growing together. And I'll take a very simple example, right? So I think there are a few companies, SaaS companies in fintech space, right? And they have democratized how people do investments, right? I think and learning as well, right? How education is doing there, right? So those are those SaaS companies, right? But thing is, they also need help in terms of they are looking for customer engagement tools, right? Right. So we have, I think it creates opportunity for customer engagement SaaS providers, right? And you do a customer support, right? The need is how we can automate it, right? How we can create efficiencies with less number of people, right? So then I think then we have something from conversational AI space, right? That comes in, right? So I think there are a lot of interdependence, right? And good part is I think the industry, SaaS industry in India is very mature. And I think people look at each other as interdependent at times, partners, competitors, and we're growing together, right? So, and eventually, I'll before I think closing the remark on this question, right? I think I will say this is just a starting point. These numbers I said, right? I think 1%, these numbers in billions look big for us, right? But overall, I mentioned, right, 4%, 5% is still a small number, but in a very right direction. And I think we'll be not surprised that it will not say that, okay, this company, I think, started from India and built for world, right? It will start from it built for world because I think SaaS in a way democratizes both, I'll say, software building and also software consumption.
True. Very true. Thanks, Pankaj. Some very interesting insights. I think the numbers that you mentioned about India being the SaaS hub, very conservative in my opinion. I think by 2030 is what they're expecting is around 70 to 100 billion, which is still 5 to 7% of the market. So I think a lot of headroom for us to, as you mentioned, build in India for the world. And I think you touched upon few key drivers. Demand side, obviously, customers are looking for interesting solutions out there. And you have the supply side where you have cloud technologies, talent to build those solutions sitting in India and distributing across the world. You had also mentioned, touched upon quality of service. I think that also has increased over the time from India. I mean, the quality of service of the product. And I think the last bit, I think the most interesting thing that you had mentioned are dependencies that are happening in the ecosystem. So on that note, Pankaj, want to kind of go a little bit more in depth about where you are right now, Yellow.ai. So if you can give a quick overview about what Yellow.ai does, kind of just a quick pitch about Yellow.ai, and then focusing on top 2 to 3 use cases that your customers are using Yellow.ai for. So
sure, Vishal. So I think Yellow.ai, I think I joined 6 months back, and I think it has been a very interesting journey. And if I have to pitch Yellow.ai in general, right, I think at high level, right, I think we are building the next generation total experience platform. And what it means, total experience, is traditionally, I think people are focused on customer experience, how we can create, I will say, frictionless experiences for customers. True. But I think one important thing that is neglected for long, and I think it is the interaction, is employee experience as well. Right? So, and I think in simple words, I think when I say total experience, it is customer experience and employee experience, right? So at Yellow.ai, right, we're building next generation automation platform, which will enhance to total experience in general. And how we are doing it, Vishal, is we have a very robust conversational AI platform, right, which is helping create personalized, connected, intuitive interfaces in the field of customer experience and employee experience, so that brands and enterprises can interact with their employees and customers seamlessly. So that is a very high level what we are doing, and I can do a deep dive in terms of how we are doing it quickly. And I think
Sure.
let me know. I think if I just share my thought there as well.
Sure, Pankaj. I mean, if you can give 2, 3 use cases, I think use case driven examples would be better to understand. And also maybe a
Sure.
follow up there, as see, for example, I'm a business guy. So I just want to understand, is it a no code platform? Can I at my company build interesting conversational products for my customers, employees, having no coding experience? Is that also possible? So maybe some
Sure,
thoughts
sure.
there would be great.
Sure. So let me start your second question first, right? And come to example, right? So I think if you look at, right, I think how we deliver, I think total experience into total experiences. So our platform, Yellow.ai platform, right? And what it has is, I think it has a combination of a dynamic AI agent and human assistance as well, right? So what we have is, I think at high level, if you look at technology-wise, right? We have a very robust NLP engine, which allows a better understanding of customer, I will say, intents and similarly employee intents, right? We also have document cognition and active learning that I will say enhances this whole overall automation part, right? And how we use it, right? So we have, as you mentioned, right, we have a low code platform which enables anyone to come and curate their own experiences, right? Awesome. And I will encourage, I think, your audience to come to cloud.yellow.ai, create a login, right? And anyone can come, right? And they can see how simple and intuitive it is, right? To create any journey and interface, right? And it can be for any use case. It can be as simple as a query bot, right? You can make actionable bot as well, right? You can ask it to do certain tasks as well, right? And in terms of high level use cases, how it works is, if you look at any, I'll say a robust conversational AI platform, right? It does three things. One is what kind of use cases it helps you to build on, right? So for example, if you're looking at, say, automotive industry, right? If you're looking at, say, e-commerce, is it helping you to map all the end-to-end use cases of a retail journey? And I'm going to touch a few of the examples, right? Second is, after use cases, right? How robust is the NLP, right? And what I mean is, when I think the end user is interacting with that chatbot, right, or a voice bot, is it able to understand it? Or it is very dumb that, okay, I think it is so dumb that people are thinking, why I'm talking to a bot, right? Let's wait for a human being for maybe 2 days, right? So I think that robust NLP, and the good thing is, Vishal, is I think in our platform, we have more than billions of conversations, and we keep learning and refining our algorithms so that intent recognition is very high. And third is, I'll just say, right, integration with enterprise softwares, right? So I think it is very important. For example, if you are building this conversational AI layer and automation, right, it should be easy to integrate this with brands, CRM solution, ERP solution, HRMS solutions as well, right? So these are the high level 3 things we do in an easy way, right? And apart from automation, right, there are a few scenarios where we need to do a handoff to a human agent as well, right? So we have those, I think, building blocks also in place. And how we are doing it, I think we are also enhancing that part. So if it goes to a human agent as well, can we automatically suggest what needs to be communicated to the end customer employee, right? So there are suggestions. So we call it something called human assist components, right? So if I come to the use cases, right, I think let me take example where people can relate to it, right? And people can relate, right? Sure. So one of the biggest, I think, world's largest they call it pizza. I think pizza delivery, pizza brands, right? They use our voice solution to help their customers with the post-order interface, right? And what it's doing is, right, I think, and I know, right, how critical it is when you are calling a pizza brand, right, and expecting within 30 minutes, right? True. How important to have a post-order, I will say, support, right? So I think, I will say, every month, I think savings, right? I think I'm not going to give the numbers, right? But it is significant numbers, right? And it is helping save, I'll say, at least 60% of the calls are handled by this voice AI agents, right?
That's
So it's a
huge.
very impactful solution for this pizza brand, right? The other example I will take from employee experience perspective, right? So one of the biggest e-commerce players in India, they are using our EX solution. And what it does is, if you look at, right, and we all can relate, right, how onboarding can be challenging, right? How
Quite
getting,
true.
I think, interacting on HR query can be interesting, right? And it can be difficult, right? So basically, although we have Workday and multiple, I'll say, tools, right, but still it is challenging because I
Correct.
think you need some kind of a human intervention, right?
True.
So
Very
we have
true.
built a solution for onboarding and HR query, right? And in very conservative number, right? I think it has impacted, I think, in terms of efficiency of HR people by almost 70%. And is enabling HR personnel to work on something more meaningful. And
True.
for employees as well, right? I think they're looking for instant resolution and they're getting it, right? So, and obviously it also, we have in onboarding employee engagement as well. And we have also seen significant impact on employee engagement as well. Let me take a third example. I know we are short of time, right?
Sure. Sure.
And this is for, I think, the very interesting automobile brand. And they wanted a solution for their end-to-end customer buying journey, right? And people are coming to the website, and I think our chatbots are doing a great job, not only in product discovery, but whole funnel of buying experience and also engagement.
Awesome, Pankaj. I think some very interesting use cases and very practical. I think most brands out there, you had mentioned the sectors like from e-commerce, retail, food. I think these are
Mm.
heavy customer experience intensive. You would need to automate 60 to 80% of the daily tasks. Otherwise, you're putting resources for doing repetitive tasks. So I think huge use cases there, huge value, huge efficiency that is being given back to employees in the company. Pankaj, I think going to my last question and the theme of my podcast on what's next. I think you had introduced a new concept, total experience, which is a kind of a mixture of customer, at the same time employees, both critical stakeholders in any business. Would be great to hear your final thoughts on trends that are happening in the space in the next 3 to 5 years. How is the entire total experience space going to be transformed in the years to come? And obviously keeping the Yellow.ai lens when you answer this. So all yours, Pankaj.
Sure, Vishal. Sure, Vishal. So the one thing that we are seeing is, right, I think now customers and employees, they want to engage with brands or I think enterprises in their choice of channel. And when I mean that, right, I think if you look at the trends, right, I think most of the e-commerce discussions or brand engagement is happening through WhatsApp,
Correct.
Line, Viber. So people, they don't want to go to traditional channels of going to a mobile site or going to a, I will say, a app, mobile app, or going to a website, right? They want this whole experience in their preferred mode of channel.
Channel, true.
So that is one big trend, right? And I think in India we can relate to WhatsApp, but if you go to Southeast Asia, right, it can be Viber, Line, right? And if you go
Wow.
to US, right, it can be SMS based and what. So basically, depending on the market, right? But the thing is, we have to look beyond website and a mobile app, right? And what it means is, in short term, I think, and maybe I think I'll say slowly, I think brands are embracing it, right, as a kind of add-on. But I think I'll say in next 3 4 years, right, it will become must. And I can give a very good parallel, right? If you look at it, you go not, I think, a few years back, right? Brands used to have only website. For them, they said, let's have some kind of mobile site, right? And the other option, right? Now they created mobile apps, right? And then I think a lot of traffic, significant traffic goes to the mobile apps and mobile
True.
devices, right?
Correct.
So what you're predicting is, I think the overall interaction is going to become conversational first, right? So it was website only, then when mobile is add-on, then it became mobile first. Now it is going to become conversational first. So there'll be expectation that, okay, every brand or a company, they have a conversational layer on top of any kind of solution they are building. And I think, and it is not, I will say, when I say conversational first, it's not only the text medium. I'm talking about voice medium, right? For example, I think, and if you look at, I think, I will say a more of a digital native for this technology, right? If you look at the kids right now, they know how to interact with Alexa, right? They know how to interact with, I'll say, Google Voice, right? So the thing is, right, it has become very natural. And the reality is, I think a lot of research, right, people have seen that, okay, conversation is a very natural way of interacting with anyone, right? So, and the traditional way of going to a CRM and filling certain forms and clicking something and initiating, right, that's not intuitive. And a very simple example is if you go to a tier 2 city, right? I'm taking a very mundane example. If you have to return something, right? If you go, what will do? You go to a shop and say, please return this, right? If you have to do something on the website, right? I think for us, maybe it is easy to visualize what is difficulty in going to that link and clicking it and doing it, right? But it's not very intuitive. It is as simple as you talk to someone, return it, right? So I think the summary, the first thing that is going to come is, I think, conversational first. So you can have a website, you can have a mobile, but if we're not going with a conversational first design, especially in customer experience and employee experience, right? I think you will be at the disadvantage. Today, it can be advantage, but if you do not embrace it, very soon it will be disadvantage. The second thing that touch, right? I think the CRMs will evolve, right? I think we'll have to evolve in the sense, right?
True.
And they have to take a conversational nature, right? And I've seen, I think, multiple brands are, I think, doing that. When I say multiple brands, multiple companies who are in the CRM space, right? They understand how important, I think, this conversational interfaces and capturing data, we have to do that. And it's a very complex problem. I think now what will happen is customer data, same customer data, right? Some data can stay on, say, WhatsApp, something will be on, say, a website, something in email, right? Something in voice, right? Something in video. How we can bring all those omni-channel experience at one place, right? So I think the CRM solutions will evolve and they will bring a lot of conversational components in the CRM, right? I think there are three more themes that I will touch upon: multimodal part, voice part, and also how it is evolving to metaverse, right? So let me go one by one. So I think the big trend on multimodal thing, right? And multimodal, I'll just simplify this word, right? It is people, customers, employees, right, want to interact across channels, across mediums. Across channels, I give example, right? The mediums I'm talking about, it can be text, it can be voice, right? And it can be, now touch is also a mode, right? It's your touch phones as well, right? So how we can bringing those components in one solution, right? So it cannot happen that, okay, all are siloed. So I think we have seen a trend where I think there's the people look at email and people look at some kind of some tickets on a website. They try to combine it. But I think still we have to go far to bring all those components to one place, multimodal, true multimodal experience. And what it means is, I think a lot of focus will go on how user experience itself is built around multimodal part, right? So that is another trend, right? The fourth interesting thing is, I think, and I think as a Yellow.ai writing a roadmap, we have a big focus is how we can humanize voice interaction. Because if you all know, right, I think traditionally, right, I think it is traditionally is more of an IVR kind of interaction, right? If you go there, you go to every IVR, right, press 1, 2, 3, and you'll be lost in some jungle and will not come out, right?
Yep.
So what we're doing is we are building, you are humanizing this whole voice interaction, right? And for a specific task, right? And obviously, as I mentioned, right, this automation or this conversational interface should be able to understand voice across multiple tones, multiple dialects, right? You should be able to understand the sentiment behind it, right? Intent behind it, and how it can input values, right? For example, if you go and in a text mode, right, it's very simple to give your email ID, and if there are email validators as well, right? Phone validators as well, right? Voice, it is challenging, right? I think, and we're making the right solution for that as well, right? And obviously, I think we are looking at in terms of humanizing the voice interaction theme, how we can bring something at par with a human being, in fact, better than him or her. What happens is you call a typical call center, support center, right? Many times, support agents do not have enough knowledge because you know what call centers, right? The kind of churn and the kind of training that happens, right?
True.
It's very difficult to manage the same levels of competence, right?
Correct.
And I think it's automation and conversational component, dynamic AI agents, right? That will take it off, right? And they're very efficient, right? And what will happen is it's also with scale companies. Now, I think you don't have to think about you need a support, more agents, or you need more people to scale your business across geographies, right? So that is going to happen. And this is very interesting area, and this will become very reality very soon. In terms of you will not I think maybe at times, right, you will say, right, okay, I don't want to interact with a human agent. Can you transfer it to a better bot, right? So that will bridge, right? So that is the fourth theme, right? Fifth theme, I think, and I think everyone is talking about, right? And I think for some time when we started seeing adoption is now, I think now people have a glorified term called metaverse. I think I'll simplify that. We are, but this is a reality. This is going to happen. Someone can claim it will happen in 10 years. Someone can say it will happen in 10 months. Someone can say in 10 days, right? So, but the reality is, I think this will become a very important component in a metaverse, because if you look at, I think, the dynamics of metaverse itself, right, in more for interaction across different components, some are real, some are not real, right? And if you look from that perspective, right, the medium itself is conversation. That is the best medium that
True.
can plug into a metaverse world, right? And obviously, and I can give a very simple example, right? It is very highly possible that you will find Pankaj's video bot interacting with your video bot, because I think maybe this bot will have more knowledge than the human Pankaj, because human Pankaj with age will start forgetting things, right? But this bot will not forget, right? And this is just
True.
example, right? So basically what I'm saying is that right now maybe focus in text, now it is going on voice, it will come on video, and it will also start encompassing components within metaverse. So very exciting times, Vishal, right? And I think having said this, these are complex problems to solve. And at Yellow.ai, right, I think we are taking them head on. And obviously, I think the goal is how we can create very, I will say, as I mentioned earlier, right, personalized, connected, and intuitive interfaces for both customer journey and also employee journey, right? So that's the overall, I'll say, roadmap you are having and a vision for this area.
Brilliant, Pankaj. I think interesting times to look ahead. As you mentioned, you touched upon few interesting points from saying that conversational layer is now going to be democratized. Any product you make, there has to be a conversational layer. I think you touched upon the CRM piece. CRM has to get more intuitive and more smart. I think that's going to happen. With that, you'll have the conversational aspect as well. So you'll be capturing a lot of data about the customer on a single platform. And I think the last bit, the metaverse, everybody's been talking about it. I think that platform, it can't get better because it's basically your avatar on the metaverse space. So conversation is going to be fundamental out there. I think we're going towards the world of Matrix. I think we watched the movie. I think the Matrix story might come true. As you said, it could be 10 months, 10 days to 10 years, right? So you never know when that's going to come. So some interesting trends out there, and it's good to see that Yellow has been looking at these trends and coming out with relevant solutions. Pankaj, on that note, thanks a lot for taking out time on a Sunday to spend time with us to record this podcast. Once again, Pankaj, pleasure to have you. Thanks once again.
Thank you for having me, Vishal. Have a good day.
Same to you. Cheers.